Hello everybody. I hope you're enjoying your summer, or what's left of it anyway, as the month of July in New England was pretty much rain, or it's been like 90 degrees out and very muggy. But for this past week we've been having perfect weather where it's been in the 80s with virtually no humidity, so I decided to take Thursday and Friday off and shoot some videos and do a lot of cycling. But right now I'm on Siley Street or Silly Street, depending on how you pronounce it, right on the corner of Kilby Street. And the picture that I'm about to show you guys depicts what this area used to look like, as it was either pasture or farmland. As you'll see, that there's virtually no houses here. And what happened is after World War II was when all these ranches started popping up. And as I always say, like the older architecture pre-1940 was built completely different. As after World War II, everything started to get commercialized and industrialized, and you started having these little houses pop up everywhere. And as we all know, the old architecture was a lot more beautiful and it was built better. But anyway, here's the picture. And as you can see, it was quite different back then, as there was no houses here, as I was saying, and this was all pasture. And I tried to blend the picture into this old house right here, which is still present. But as you can see, they added an addition to it, as well as the chimney was moved to the inside of the house, as it was an external chimney at one point. And it's kind of strange that this house is still here. You think somebody would have torn it down and built a modern house here by now, but it's still here. So that's an oldie. So that house has been there since the late 1800s or early 1900s at minimal. But I do have one more picture to show of this area. I just got to find the location. I'm still in the area of Scilly Road. I'm on South Porter Street on the corner of Maynard Ave. And the picture I'm about to show you shows how this was also all pasture land. So my guess is this whole hill here on top of Scilly Road was pretty much farmland up until the 50s, as I was saying. After World War II is when all these ranch style homes started popping up. But anyway, here's the picture. And as you can see, there's nothing that I could find that was in that older picture, as this whole road is just lined up with ranch style homes. There's nothing old here anymore. But anyway, I'm gonna head over to my next location. And right now I'm heading down Wilson Street to the corner of Somerville Street, as I did manage to find a picture of this area, probably from the 40s or so, as it's not dated. Could be the 30s, I'm not positive. But as you can see, this area is full of small stores. So back in the day, this was a thriving little community. As it's now, you know, like most cities, it's getting run down, let's put it that way. But many of the stores are still present, they're still operating, but it's not what it used to be, that's for sure. As you can see, there was an old business here. Now it's just a rundown building, as well as the building behind me, as this was a storefront. Now it's just a building that's encased in vinyl and cheap T111 plywood. But anyway, the picture I'm going to show you is right here, and it's of this building. And as you can see, the building really hasn't changed much. And also, that white building, as well as this one, are still present, although they've been vinyl sided. And as you can see right here, this was once a spa, which is crazy. You wouldn't think there'd be spas back then, but there were. And there's also an electric trolley depicted in the picture that was right here. So my guess is this picture is from the 30s, the 20s, or the 40s. I'm not positive, but I'm gonna continue to stroll down here and just get some footage of this area. I can't mount my camera to my bike, as there's a stability sensor in it that's not supposed to rattle much, which doesn't make sense. But I did get a GoPro this morning, that's going to be mounted to my helmet. I just gotta play around with it for a couple days just to get the hang of it before I start posting videos of it. But as you can see, this was a thriving community. It really was, and it still is in a sense. At least most of the businesses are still here. It's just different. It's a little thrift store here. So like I always say, like back in the day, all these neighborhoods, they always had stores in them. So you never really had to leave your neighborhood back in the day. Nowadays, they'll drive 5 miles to go to a grocery store, where back in the day, you could just walk out your front door and walk half a block to go to the store. There's an old cool house right there. But my next location is on Silver Street, which I just passed. So we'll do a loop up here. This is also an old bread factory that used to be here. I didn't catch the name of it, but I saw bread factory or something bread. Bakery. So it was the Genesis Better Bread factory. So at one point there was bread that was being made here. So right now I'm gonna head over to Silver Street. And right now we're gonna head down Silver Street. I'm doing this one-handed, so I gotta be careful not to wipe out or get hit. But here's the photo, and as you can see, the road is lined with multiple triple-decker apartments, and you can see the Hoyt shoe mill in the background where the tower is, as well as the chimney, as well as this large building to the left is also in the picture. And if you recall, I actually did a video of this Hoyt Mill shoe factory, I believe last winter while it was snowing, so check it out. It's kind of a cool video to see, as these were obviously beautiful buildings, and they still are. But anyway, I'm gonna head over to my next destination. This wasn't part of the plan, but who remembers Woolworths that used to be located here? I used to come here a lot, you know, during the 80s with my mother and my grandmother and my 2 brothers. But anyway, I'm going to try to dig some pictures up of it, as I'm sure they do exist. But anyway, this is where the Woolworths location used to be. This also wasn't part of the plan, but this is what I call a survivor, as this is a beautiful house, an early 1900s or late 1800s building, and it hasn't been vinyled. It is, although, due for a paint job, but as you can see, it's an absolutely beautiful house. They don't build things like this anymore. And this is on the corner of Lincoln and Manchester Street. And here on the corner of Massabesic and Cypress Street was once the location of the Hallsville grocery store, as you can see in the picture. The picture looks like it was dated to the late 1800s, and it eventually evolved into a passenger trolley train station, as you can see in these 2 photos. I'm guessing that this was the location, as there's really nothing to go by, as the buildings that are depicted in those photos are non-existent. So I'm fairly certain it was right here. And here we have another old building on the corner of Wilson and Spruce Street. And it seems like it's going to be gutted and renovated, which is a good thing, so at least they're going to save it. The reason why I know they're saving it is because they're putting a new roof on it, and that wouldn't be happening otherwise. But on this side of the house, you can see that it was like never kept up. As you can see, the original clapboard, it's probably been painted once, maybe twice, so that's kind of strange. But what's going to happen here, obviously, is this is going to get vinyl sided, as they're not going to paint it. I guarantee it, unfortunately. So we'll get a little bit of footage of it before it totally changes. I was gonna ask if they'd be interested in, or have me look at it, just give them some prices for some work to be done here, but they won't hire me. I know how it is in this city. Like, there's so many slumlords and there's a lot of people that like to work for free, so I'm not the free guy. But yeah, they put in new windows, so yeah, it's gonna get redone, so that's cool. But anyway, I thought I'd just throw this in. And we're back at this very same location on Cypress Street. As I just looked up this building here, this beautiful red brick building, as this was once the location of Kimball's Shoe Factory, as this beautiful red brick building was constructed during 1885, and I believe it remained a shoe factory up until 1970. I'm not sure what happened after 1970, but this building's recently been converted into apartment buildings, which is a good thing because it's a beautiful brick building that if they would have tore it down, it would have never been replaced, as buildings like this are not built anymore. But as you notice in the picture is that the tower is gone, which is a shame, but at least the building was saved. So we'll take a little bike ride around it. As the back side of this building is kind of shaped like a horseshoe, and there's a beautiful garden area. And as I always say, these buildings were meant to last. That's why I hate seeing these things get torn down, because they're always restorable. They were built with like 10 by 10 oak beams, steel I-beams, and red brick. So they're always fixable, or repairable, or restorable, whatever the word you want to use. I can't wait to get my GoPro camera going, that's for sure. But I'll do a little loop here so we can see the back side of this beautiful building. This is why I like walking and biking, because I would have never known this was here, because I have no reason to come here. But as you can see, this is a beautiful area. And they did an excellent job restoring this building, whoever did it. All the guys and girls that did it. I don't know what the company was, but that doesn't matter. But anyway, I'm gonna head over to my next area. This here is kind of random, but it's showing how the old like pre-1940 buildings were built. As I always say, they were built better because they used real lumber, as these are real boards made out of real wood with no joints. And they did a couple repairs here, and as you can see, I always say how plywood's garbage, and it is. It really is, as it's all laminated wood pressed together and glued. So over time this fails, it gets wet, it delaminates, and it rots. I see it all the time. As you all know, I work on houses. As even though these boards are over 100 years old, they'll still outlast this plywood. This bituthane stuff is also garbage, because as soon as any moisture gets behind it, it gets trapped, and whatever's behind that bituthane is going to rot if there's any moisture, because it never dries. That stuff's good to use in a very wet area, I understand, but I wouldn't have used it here, because this building's lasted over 100 years and there's no rot, so what's the point of putting bituthane on it? It's absolutely pointless. I would have just left it. Leave it be. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But anyway, on to the next area. I'm still in the location of Massabesic Street at the Valley Street intersection, but I managed to find a photo that was dated to 1900 that depicts a massive street flood that happened here. There's not much to line the photo up with, but on the left side, as you can see right here, there is a white building, and that was once the first Hallsville School. And I also have a few photos of the school here. But as you can see, much has changed here, as it's completely different. And this building, located on Beach Street, which is now the Police Athletic League building, which was converted in, I believe, the early 2000s. And I'll show you this picture right now. And as you can see, this was a beautiful building. And it's a bloody shame to see what happened to it. I can't even understand why the city would even let this happen. But this was once the St. Cecilia Hall building, which was a function hall for what I believe is St. Augustine's, which I think is this church here. So this used to be a function hall. And as you can see, it was a very detailed building. It was beautiful. Like, what happened to the statues that were mounted above all the entryways here? And the only thing you can see of the old detailed, beautiful work is the soffit work here, as well as the granite steps and the granite block foundation. That's not the real foundation, but it's just sad to see what happened to this. I can't believe that. I do recall this building when I was younger, but you know, when I never really paid attention to it. But what a travesty. I can't believe the city allowed this to happen. Now it's just an ugly plastic vinyl square. Like, seriously, what is wrong with Manchester? But anyway, I thought I'd get that across to you all. This is just incredibly sad. It really is. I'm going to get some more detailed footage of that Cecilia Hall, but this building also was once a beautiful building, and it's just been hacked by modern contractors. This was a gorgeous little house here, and it's just been butchered. You can imagine what this porch used to look like. I don't know what's happened to society, but we've completely gone backwards as far as craftsmanship. I don't get it. I really don't. But with this building, there's a few like minor details peeking through where you can see what it used to look like. Like, all I can see is this. I'll try to get out of the sun here. I mean, obviously you can see the red brick, but there's the remnants of a stained glass window that was there. There's no longer any glass. There's like a couple broken shards of it. But look at that detail work on that soffit. That's insanity. I can't believe the city allowed this to happen. And what happened to the statues that were above the entryways? Where did those go? This country really loves destroying its history. It really does. Like, even these beautiful granite steps, they put like a textured paint on it. These windows are, I mean, the doors are original though. You can see the dental mold on it. It's just painted a hideous color. I mean, I'm glad they repurposed the building, but seriously, there's no reason why this shouldn't have been saved. You know, as I always say, if the city would have been kept up, Manchester would be like a tourist spot instead of a rundown city. And I don't think there's really anything on this side. You can see a windowsill there. But yeah, there's like nothing left of this. It's all been covered. Just lost to history. It's like when you go to like Europe, they have all these small towns where they're hundreds of years old, and they take care of their old buildings. And in the United States, we like to destroy them for some reason, as we don't care about history, I guess. But anyway, I thought I'd show you this. I'm located on the corner of Pine and Orange Street. And what once stood here before this church was built was St. George's Cathedral. And it was a beautiful Gothic style cathedral that had 2 towers. And it was obviously a red brick building, as much of Manchester used to be. But the earliest picture I found, I believe, was dated to 1938, and you can see the hurricane damage that happened here during the hurricane of 38. And the other picture is showing it being destroyed during a fire that happened in the year 1950. But if you look at the buildings in the area, there's a lot of age here. This is probably a small chapel that was affiliated with the church, and it's a very old building, definitely early 1900s or 1800s, as well as this building, which was likely a school. It was called St. George's. So yeah, I'm gonna guess this was the school that was adjacent to the church. And as you can see, it's also a beautiful building that's been converted into apartments and it hasn't been destroyed. I believe I actually filmed this during one of my walk-around videos a year or so ago. But yeah, this is also a beautiful building. Very detailed, very beautiful. I can't see the roof, but there may be something up there. But yeah, this building was built in 1898. As it's stamped right there. But I have one more destination to get to, and I will conclude this video. And while I'm in the area, I'm on Depot Street, which was once the Gaslight District, as the beautiful brick buildings that used to be here got destroyed, as they're going to be building an apartment building here. I believe it's going to be a 3-level apartment. It might even be 4 levels, I'm not sure. But as you can see, modern construction, as I always say, particle board, not even plywood. Particle board is absolute garbage. Anyone knows that. And it's also being stick framed, which is, you know, that's just how we build things nowadays, versus the buildings that were here were made out of red brick, granite, large oak beams that supported it, and it was a timber frame building versus this stick stuff. So the old building, even though it was dilapidated, they could have restored it and it still would have outlasted this modern garbage. If this lasts 80 years, I'll be impressed. They are using steel I-beams for the foundation of this building, as there's going to be an underground parking lot. Again, it's going to be particle board, and what they're going to do is they're going to put a red brick facade that's basically going to be glued onto the plywood. So, you know, this building is not going to last. It's not going to last as long as this building, which is a real brick building. But anyway, that's modern construction for you. But Manchester does need apartments, so I completely get it. You know, things have to change, but I just hate seeing that red brick go. And here's the last photo of the day, depicting a probably late 1800s photo of Manchester City Hall. It was a little bit different back then, that's for sure. There was definitely a lot less buildings. But anyway, I'm going to go home and mess around with my GoPro, but I'm going to have a few more videos popping up in the next 2 or 3 days, as I have a few days off from work and it's beautiful out. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good weekend.